by the cultivation of auspicious qualities. As all wrong knowledge gradually ceases, the mind becomes desireless, free from the pairs of opposites, restlessness, fear and delusion. So, the cultivation of auspicious qualities. I've spoken before about liberation as a practice, and that's when the attention rests in itself. And I've spoken also about right effort, about the development of wholesome states and not encouraging unwholesome mental and emotional states. And I've said that the latter isn't really spiritual, and the cultivation of wholesome states isn't going to take you anywhere near liberation. But once you've touched liberation, then is the time to deal with the mind. It seems to be the opposite from what's usually taught. The idea is that once you get liberated, you'll naturally be a wonderful human being. But it seems to me it's the other way around. Once you touch liberation, once you touch the absolute, once you're in touch with pure awareness, which is what your awareness essentially is, then you can begin the work of purification, of purifying your mind, of rooting out your unwholesome tendencies. The unwholesome tendencies don't just disappear. So it's by the cultivation of auspicious qualities, as all wrong knowledge gradually ceases, the mind becomes desireless, free from the pairs of opposites, restlessness, fear and delusion. There seems to me to be a causal sequence here. We've got delusion, that's the belief that there's a world out there which has got things in it that we want or want to avoid. That gives rise to fear. Fear is not getting what we want or getting what we don't want. And this inspires restlessness. It creates a condition of restlessness. The mind is constantly darting. The attention is constantly looking at these things that we want and trying to avoid the things that we don't want. This makes us restless. And it gives rise to pairs of opposites. What this means is it clearly categorizes. We're always categorizing the world into desirable, undesirable. Even just the categorization of me and the world. It's basically duality. That's what this is. Pairs of opposites is duality. And that's the root of desire. So, by the cultivation of auspicious qualities, and this is after we've inquired deeply and seriously into the nature of sense pleasures, which is said in the previous paragraph. The mind becomes desireless, free from the pairs of opposites, restlessness, fear, and ultimately of the root delusion. Thereby the mind rests in a state of peace and bliss. It is then unpolluted by the ego sense, evil thoughts and feelings, attachment and sorrow. Again, evil isn't meant here in a moralistic sense. It's just in the sense of evil, in the sense of tendencies, of thoughts that give rise to psychological suffering. Then the mind gets rid of its violent son, known as doubt, and its wife, known as craving. Ironically, the awakened mind brings about the cessation of those very things, like thoughts and desires, which promoted its growth. Thoughts and desires are what develop the mind. And there's nothing wrong with this. We develop ideas, we get our understanding, we get ways of thinking, ways of relating. But then we seem to stop. We don't take it any further. We get our job, get our career, get our family, get our mortgage, and we get caught up in that treadmill in the belief that that's what life's all about. We need to carry on. We need to carry on the childlike inquiry. Don't take things for granted. Don't sweep things under the carpet. There's a whole lot of things which just do not make any sense in terms of how we relate to the world. This is what we have to question. Pursuing the inquiry into its real nature, the mind abandons its identification even with the body. The ignorant mind expands, but on the awakening of wisdom, the sane mind ceases to be mind. The awakening of wisdom is when you draw back from these beliefs, all the beliefs by which you feel you understand the world. You draw back to pure awareness. Otherwise you're just getting caught up in this ever-propagating beliefs and notions about how things are. That's the ignorant mind which expands. But on the awakening of wisdom, the same mind ceases to be mind. So you could say that awareness here transcends the mind. Mind alone is this universe. Mind is a mountain range. Mind is a space. Mind is God. Mind alone is friend and foe. Now, mind alone is a universe. It is space. We tend to think of mind as something here, don't we? Even if you're quite into these teachings or sympathetic to them, you still think of, yeah, mind is here. Mind encompasses everything. Mind alone is this universe. Everything that we can be aware of is mind. Mind is the mountain range. We're getting rid of the idea, or challenging the idea, that mind is something small and localized, something behind the eyes. We want to get rid of that idea. Mind is everything. It's all happening right here. I've mentioned before about sound. It's easier to think of it in terms of sound, perhaps. If I hear a seagull out the window, out the window, well, I just said it, I'm hearing it out the window, I'm hearing it over there. But I'm not, I'm hearing it right here. I'm hearing it right here. And then we tell ourselves a story that it's originated with this creature known as a seagull, and it's up in the sky, several hundred meters away perhaps. That's the story we tell us, but I'm hearing it right here. That sound is not anywhere else. You could say exactly the same thing, of course. And it's the same with everything that I see. If I see a mountain range, I say, ah, there's a mountain range in the distance. But where is the seeing taking place? The seeing is taking place right here, deep, deep, deep inside. So everything is here. The power of here. Mind alone is friend and foe. When the consciousness forgets itself and undergoes modification and psychological conditioning, it is known as the mind, which gives rise to birth and death. We could say it gives rise to notions of birth and death. This is known as jiva, being that part of the infinite consciousness which has assumed the character of an object of this consciousness, just a little enveloped by the psychological conditioning. It is this jiva that moves away from the truth of the infinite consciousness, and by sinking deeper and deeper into the conditioning, becomes involved in the world appearance. Of course, the self is neither the jiva, nor the body, nor its components. The self is, like space, independent of all these.